Hey everybody, I am in the studio right now because we have canceled all live shows for Pod Save America and Love It or Leave It for the time being just to be safe due to the coronavirus. And yeah, this is a little bit dramatic, but they got Tom and Rita, okay? Earth is dramatic. Anyway, we are going to try something new. So welcome to Love It or Leave It, Back in the Closet.
John's going back in the closet.
Just so bad.
Introduce me,
Like,
goddammit.
that's literally the next thing out of my corona
Who's
hole.
the only person who showed up? The only person. You know, I was even going to go to that dirty ass comedy club. You shouldn't even go to a comedy club normally. When coronavirus is there, forget about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Scheer. You know him, you love him, and he's here. Now is the time for the Rant Wheel. This week on the wheel we have, quote, I'm young so I'm fine, end quote, local politics, corona comedy, guest rant from Michaela Watkins, St. Patrick's Day cancellation, blaming Liz Warren, testing failures, and Orange Cassidy. All right, let's spin the wheel. It has landed on local politics, suggested by Paul.
Yeah, I want to talk about this because, you know, obviously the primary has been, or primaries have been going on, and I think it's so easy to get caught up in the big picture, right? We're talking about who do we want to be our next president. We all know that we don't want Trump there, and there are, you know, people that have been, closely aligned people, but we're attacking them because they're not exactly what we want them to be, and there's so much energy focused there. And I just want to make sure that we take 1/4 of that energy, 1/4 of that drive, 1/4 of that passion, and put that into what is going on locally around us, because this is where action is happening, whether it's resolutions, it's people that are on your board of ed, judges. We need to be informed. And I am on Twitter, I am on social media. I'm not seeing local guides going around enough. I mean, everyone's pumping for their candidates, and that's sort of like, it's like talking about Friends. Yeah, I know what Friends is, but tell me about Fleabag. I want to know about the things in this. And today, fucking Katie Porter is the perfect example of why we should be talking locally, because Katie Porter got there today and spoke to, to this issue that we're having about getting tested for COVID-19 and getting it to be free, because the Department of Health has the right to do that. I just want people to get involved. I've gotten involved very locally, and it's my issues that I find people that I've aligned myself with, and it's so fulfilling to see actual change, to see people who are believing in it, and you'll empower people that will never think to run, like Katie Porter, who was like a teacher and decided to do this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one example would be Virginia, that the work to flip that legislature took us from a situation in which Republicans were able to prevent Medicaid expansion, prevent gun control, and by doing the work to flip that seat, we not only were able to take the legislature, we were able to put ourselves in a position to make sure redistricting happens in a way that is more fair, that actually represents the interests of people in Virginia, and we have to do that all across the country. And if you go to votesaveamerica.com and you sign up, you can find out ways that you can help with local races, I think right now. You know, and you'll probably have to do it from your couch. But hey, you can make calls for your candidates from your couch.
But this is what we should be doing. And you know, my wife wrote a book called "Represent: The Woman's Guide to Running for Office and Saving the World." And it's so interesting that you can run locally. You don't need to have multi-million-dollar campaigns, and you can make a difference. And I think in a time in these last 4 years where everything seems desperate, there is a real breath of fresh air and an excitement to me that lower level positions and these things that really can affect our daily lives are being changed and still need to be more changed. And I know you are very passionate about that as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's spin it again. It has landed on testing failures, and I wanted to talk about this because I think, we've talked a lot about the absolute failure of the Trump administration. I do think it's like a criminal failure. I mean, it's truly like it is incredible that here we are so many weeks after the crisis, as South Korea is testing people as they drive by, and we've been held back by the federal government. States, localities are trying to step up and fill the gap. But, there are other failings that led to this. And I do think this is something a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters have pointed out. And I do think this is incumbent upon us to make a part of this story, which is, I was thinking about just-in-time inventory. And I don't know very much about it, but the basic idea is there have been these advances in logistics that make it possible to have these supply chains that are incredibly sophisticated, that make sure the right thing is in the right place exactly at the right moment when you need it. That's true for whether it's manufacturing a computer, and it's true for what Amazon does to kind of move things in this incredibly sophisticated and efficient way across the country with all the ancillary harm that does. But I was thinking about that as it relates to America in a moment of crisis like this, and I just wrote these down, that these are some of the problems that people are facing right now. That kids can't miss school because that's where they get lunch. Workers who prepare food and clean floors don't have sick leave. Mothers can't have to figure out what to do with kids if those kids have to stay home from school when they have to work. Seniors who work because Social Security is not enough, deciding whether it's safe to go to their security job, go to their retail job, go to their greeter job, go to whatever part-time work they do at the office they used to work in just to pick up some extra hours and make ends meet. Parents that need both incomes and don't have any buffer if one parent loses a job or has their hours cut. Huge prison populations without the care or protections they need to protect themselves and all of us. An economy that runs on undocumented labor. Often people that have absolutely no financial security and no access to health care. And millions of people who know that walking into a hospital with insurance or without insurance means they come away with a bill they cannot pay. As you pointed out, Katie Porter. Katie Porter pointed out how many millions of people can't afford a $400 unexpected payment, how dangerous that can be. So, we talk a lot about the healthcare system and how it's broken and how many people are one accident or illness away from ruin. But I do think at this moment it's worth reflecting on just how much we've built an economy and a society with no buffer, like no room, no slack, nothing can go wrong, no room for life. Anthony Fauci, who has been a leading public health expert for his entire career. He's worked for all administrations. There was this question about what Anthony Fauci, this deeply respected bipartisan figure, would say about Donald Trump and whether he would stay on. And he did stay on, and I believe he stayed on so that he would be in the right place at the right time for a crisis like this, so he could be in position to tell the truth when we needed somebody who we could trust to tell us the truth, and good that he's there. But when he first decided to stay and work in the Trump administration, he was asked early on, what are you worried about? And what he said he was worried about is he was worried about a flu, and he was worried about the disease that might come out of left field. And he talked about all the steps he thought we needed to take to be ready for that, some of which, a vast majority of which, we hadn't done, some of which we didn't do during the Obama administration, during the Bush administration, during previous administrations, and some of which Donald Trump decided to undo once he became president. And, this is an unprecedented moment. The NBA is shut down. They closed Disneyland. No Mr. Toads. But there's a lot of people who said this day would come, that we would build such an interconnected society, and that there would be another flu, there would be another pandemic, and we wouldn't be ready. And we're here now, and we're not ready. And America is uniquely unready for a moment like this, not just because we have a fucking incompetent TV narcissist in the White House who was more concerned about the stock market and his reelection than doing the right thing even in the moment, but also because as a society we have not done enough to protect ourselves and each other, to build a stable system in which we acknowledge that everyone gets sick and everyone is vulnerable. And I do think, we're in this moment where a lot of people are coming to terms with the fact that their candidate is going to be the nominee because the candidate who won was inevitably going to be somebody that a lot of people didn't support, because that's how primaries work. And I just think it's incumbent upon all of us, whether you are gung-ho for Joe Biden or whether you want it to be a different way, to remember that the candidate matters, but we matter too. And whether it's Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders, if we want to be a society that's ready for the next pandemic and ready for the quotidian disasters that come for all of us, it's about pressing everyone, whether whether they agree with us now or not, to take the steps after this crisis is over, so that the next time it comes, we're not talking about whether a kid is going to get food at school or food at home, whether a person who makes food for a living is going to have to go to work sick because they don't have an alternative. And I think facing that is going to be really hard, but it's what we have to do. And I wanted to end on a high note because in the midst of all of this, there have been people that have really been stepping up. You know, in 2018, we got together and we rallied behind a group of California House seats called the Crooked Seven. We flipped every single one of those seats, including one in Orange County, won by Katie Porter. We always have loved Katie Porter, but on Thursday morning, she was interrogating a Trump public health official, and she said this.
Will you commit to invoking your existing authority under 42 CFR 71.30 to provide for coronavirus testing for every American, regardless of insurance coverage?
What I was trying to say is that CDC is working with HHS now to see how we operationalize that.
Dr. Redfield, you don't need to do any work to operationalize. You need to make a commitment to the American people so they come in to get tested. You can operationalize the payment structure tomorrow.
I think you're an excellent questioner, so my answer is yes.
Excellent. Everybody in America hear that. You are eligible to go get tested for coronavirus and have that covered regardless of insurance. Please, if you believe you have the illness, follow precautions. Call first. Do everything the CDC and Dr. Fauci, God bless you, for guiding Americans in this time. But do not let a lack of insurance worsen this crisis.
So I just encourage everybody to go watch that full clip, but it's incredible, right? Just by dint of her talent and pressure and preparedness. We're in a moment that requires people to be heroes, and that's a shame, right? That a system that requires heroes to do basic things, to get basic functions of government done, is a system that's broken. But as long as we're in a situation where we need people like Katie Porter, we're so lucky that there are people like Katie Porter in place. And, you know, as we look at the next 6 months and we don't know what it's going to look like, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of misinformation, a lot of chaos and a lot of noise, I think it's worth just remembering that there are people fighting to do the right thing, and we can help make sure that they stay in power and that more of them are in power. And, you know, we can send Donald Trump and his people back to the sewer of our culture where they came from. And whatever else is going on, we just need to keep our eyes on that.